Hey, welcome back to No Hype Beer Reviews. Unless it's your first time, then welcome. Please consider subscribing. If you do, hit that notification bell, get all the updates. Rest every day's video is Thursday, and sometimes on Thursdays I do Thursday's Thirsty Thoughts. Try to come up with a topic that's hopefully engaging, and we can get the comment section. I don't know why I'm tripping over every word. Comment section going. So people seem to respond well to some of these, like the ethics of beer review videos that I put out there. Some people had, some comments maybe wondering on some things. So I want to address some of those. Some of those it made sense just to kind of comment back. Some of them I think make sense to make a whole video out of. So this is something that came up in the comment sections, but also something that I've heard almost the entirety of me doing beer reviews, which I've been doing for 6 years at this point, which just blows my mind. And maybe I should have made a 6th anniversary video. But anyway, as you can see from the title, one thing that sometimes people do ask me, and I totally get it, and it does not make me upset, is basically it boils down to, do you like all beer? Like, do you just like everything? Are you lying? Like these kinds of, are you lying sometimes because it seems like you're always positive about beer? And I think that is a very fair question of someone who's doing reviews of anything, right? Like if someone seems to be always positive in reviews, what's up there, So just, and I think this is, I also probably could have labeled this as get to know your beer reviewer better, so I'll probably be just, I have some ideas of things that directly relate to this. So this will definitely be, maybe some tangents and stuff that, fit, but maybe, seem a little too out there or not for you. I don't know. One of the first things that definitely popped into my mind, well, every single time this comes up and people ask me, something in this realm, is I am very fortunate. I'll talk about food for a second. Except for water chestnuts, I literally like every food I've ever had. I'm a very adventurous eater, which I've talked about on the channel, which is what got me into craft beer. I'm like, why am I drinking the same Labatt Light every time? This is boring. Like when it comes to food, I'm always trying new things. And there's these other kinds of beers, I should check that out. So I have had a lot of different kinds of food, and I have a palate that seems to appreciate different things. I'm not a picky eater. And I think that is true also with beer and any other liquid. I like a lot of different flavors. So in many ways, it is easy to make me happy when it comes to me opening a beer and drinking it. No, that's not to say the other day, it was just my youngest and her and I are the only people who like Indian food at our house. So anytime it's just her and I'm like, you know what, let's get some Indian food. And we tried a new place, and it was bad. It was the place we usually order from is, without exaggeration, at least 10 times better than the food we had from this place that we tried. The place we normally order from was closed that day randomly. So I'm like, yeah, let's just try a different place. And I was shocked at how it was like a 10th of the taste. But I was still able to eat the food. It wasn't like I was spitting it out oh, this is awful. I didn't think it was even bad enough to write a negative review, because that's not where my mind goes. I'd have to get bad service, like really bad service, or food poisoning for me to go that far. But if I did an Indian review channel, I would say this is not that good, and it just lacks flavor. It was cooked I had a rice dish. The rice was cooked correctly. The vegetables in it were cooked correctly. Consistency, all that stuff was fine. There just wasn't the flavor there. So to bring it to the beer channel specifically, recently I reviewed a beer. It was a coffee stout aged in bourbon barrels, which, talk about being teed up for success on this channel. Those are all things I love together, right? And in that review, I was trying to be, fair, but also honest, as always. The flavors were there. The flavors were quite good, but the beer was thin, So I have a choice. I could focus on this beer's thin. That sucks. It's thin. Haven't you ever had medianoche? That's what a stout aged in bourbon barrel should taste like, and or not even taste like, the viscosity of it. But instead I'm like, yeah, this is thin, but here's a positive. The flavors are there. It tastes good, but it's just thinner than I want that style to be. And that's more my approach. So thing one, answering this question that I get sometimes, or comment I get sometimes, yeah, I'm aware. I have a pretty easy palate to please, and that is definitely true of me, for sure. It's not fake, it's not forced. I'm just easy to please that way, 100%. Just know that about me when you watch my reviews. Thing two, like everyone, I shouldn't say everyone, but everyone I know, I work hard for my money, and if I'm buying beer, it's a beer that I think I'm going to like. Like, I love my job a lot, but it is hard. I'm on my feet most of the day. It's emotionally draining working with students and knowing some of their home lives and things like that. So, like, it takes a lot out of me. It puts a lot into me in terms of happiness and feeling rewarded and all that stuff, leaving a legacy, etc., etc. But it is a tough job. So when I go to spend my money, I am very frugal and I'm very like a money conscious. So like if I'm spending my money on beer, it's beer I think I'm going to like. So then when I go to review it, it kind of increases my chances that I'm probably going to actually like the beer. Whether this is the third thing or still part of the second thing, I think the same thing is true of people who send me beers. They also are working hard to make money to buy those beers, and then they're paying for postage to send me the beers because they want to see my take on it, maybe drink along to my review as they drink the same beer, have that experience, which is what got me into beer too, myself, drinking beer along with videos of people reviewing the beer and comparing tasting notes. Those people are also working hard, so I assume that they're probably thinking to themselves, all right, I've seen him really like X, Y, and Z styles. I think I'm going to send some of the same kinds of beers, thinking he's probably going to like them. And I mean, again, after doing this for 6 years, and I don't know how many videos I've done at this point, like there's a lot of evidence of what I like, So I think people are typically sending me beers that they think I'm going to like, and then shocker, I do end up liking most of them. Breweries, that's interesting because some breweries definitely just send like, and not that a ton of breweries send me beer, but definitely like, here's the beers we've made, send. Hey, I haven't sent beers to that guy in a while. Here's the 2 most recent ones, send, right? A relatively local brewery called Woodland, I ended up reviewing. I think I've reviewed maybe 8 or 9 of their beers, 6 of which they sent me, and then the other ones I purchased at the brewery going after they sent me beers. I think they kind of did like look at like, all right, he seems to like, like barrel-aged stouts, barrel-aged quads. So we're going to like, send him some of those and see his take on those because he drinks a lot of them. Brian at Pariah, for example, he said in the comments section on the video about, the ethics of beer reviews. What if a brewery sends you beer? He's like, you guys who I send beer to drink a lot of like the big ones, so like I want to see how my beers stack up to that, So I think sometimes it's just, here's what we brewed, we want your take. And then sometimes it's a little bit more specific, like we know you love this style and you've had like some of the best beers in that style, and I want to hear your take on that as well, which again kind of is like lending itself that I'm probably going to like it because I already like that style and they feel really confident in their product that I'm going to like their version of it, So in those 2 ways, whether it's a viewer or a brewery, most of the time I'm probably being set up to like the experience and like the beer. So when I do the review, it seems positive. And lastly, yeah, it's just kind of my personality. Like the other day my wife's like, you're a people pleaser. And I'm like, what? And she's like, not like you kiss people's butts, because I don't. That's why I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, but like you like it when people are happy around you. So like if you're around people who are unhappy, you're trying to like listen to them talk about their problems, or you're trying to like make them laugh or whatever. It's just you don't like people being upset, and in thinking about my life, like that's true, I don't. And I try to be positive. That's like one of the things I do. But I know I talk about teaching a lot in these videos, but I think about grading an essay this week. I was reading this student's essay, and they had to talk about 2 things. The topic was workers' rights. I'm a social studies teacher, history teacher, and the topic was workers' rights and groups of people who fought to help workers get better rights back in the early 1900s. And you had to talk about at least 2 groups. And this student was writing a beautiful essay talking about, I think unions. And I went to turn like to the 3rd page, and I'm like, oh, they're doing their conclusion already. Crap, they've only talked about 1 thing. They have to talk about at least 2. So now I'm at a point where I have to review that student's writing, give them feedback. Now I could kill them on you only did half the essay, which has to be brought up. It's going back, like I was saying, about the thin beer that had the good taste. that I reviewed probably last week at the time that I post this. So what did I do with that? Well, I gave them a grade that I had to take points off. They only wrote, half of it. I didn't take half the points off because they had done all this work looking at documents ahead of time, outlining it. They wrote introduction, conclusion, so they wrote more than half. But I did have to dock them because they didn't do it correctly either. But then when I was writing my feedback to them, and then when I passed it back and I spoke to them, I said, listen, you did, and this was true. Nothing was a lie. Nothing was said just to make them feel good and not hurt their feelings. And again, same thing true of beers that I review. And again, I think really, if you go back to that Hamburg video, that what was it, batched or brewed? I forget the name of the beer. Grounded. It was Grounded. Same thing I did in that review. What this student wrote was fantastic. If they had then wrote about like journalists also trying to help workers' rights, Upton Sinclair, whoever else, like muckrakers. They talked about like government laws that help workers, whatever. If they had done that second one as well as they done the first one, their grade would have been in the 90s, and that's what I wrote on the paper. That's what I wrote to the student. I said, what you had done was beautiful. It was wonderful. And if you had done that same amount of effort and wonderfulness for that second thing, this essay, I would have barely any feedback. My feedback would be like, yeah, just keep pushing yourself. Wasn't quite perfect, so maybe like a 95, but like keep pushing yourself. That's my feedback. Really, can I be any more analytical? Can I throw in any more outside information? So bringing it back to the beer reviews, and again, I really think that Hamburg one is a good one. Their flavor was great, so I want to focus on like the flavor is spot on. You guys, so if anyone at the brewery is watching that, like you guys crushed it on the flavor. I've had a lot of barrel-aged coffee stouts. You guys crushed on the flavor. But I've had a lot of the style that the body was way better, right? So now they've gotten the holistic feedback that is in my head, that is truthful and honest, but I'm not harping on the half that's negative. I'm mentioning it. I'm acknowledging that it's true and there, or lacking in that regard. But it's just my personality. I'm going to focus on what they did well more. Now, if it's a beer that there's nothing good about, like the Three Floyds, the unicorn one that, or whatever, I can't even think of the name of it, that almost spit out on camera, there was nothing good about that beer. That beer is only awful, right? But most beer, like most things, have good qualities. Don't have to agree with me. I know everyone does not, based on comments I get on videos. But that's where I'm coming from as a beer reviewer, and I'm just telling you a little bit about myself. I feel like this is pretty long at this point, so I'm going to wrap it up. What are your thoughts? Do you think I'm too positive, too negative, somewhere in between? You understand why I seem to come across always liking beer, even though I don't always like the beer? Anything, everything, comment section below. Let's get a conversation going. Once you're done doing that, make sure you check me out on Instagram and Untappd. It's No Hype Beer Reviews at both those places. So always please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, imbibe. Cheers, everyone.